guys, it's been a while since I recorded anything, and I'm back, kind of, I don't know, depends on what I feel like, but we're here on Honkai Star Rail, and the reason that I really wanted to make a video, and I've not really wanted to make videos in a while, is because there's been a lot of discussion lately about power creep within Honkai Star Rail. Quite a lot of discussion, and I kind of felt like I wanted to talk about it. I've not really wanted to talk about anything in a while. I've not really kept up with making videos. Like, I have recorded stuff. Like, I recorded all my wishes for my Guns and Bows account. Just didn't end up making them into videos. I might do that eventually. I don't know. I don't even know if I'll make this into a video. Let's see. If you're watching this, I did the job. My 100 subscribers, this is for you. If you're not subscribed already, do so and like the video, because that will encourage me to put all the videos that have been sitting unedited and do them. But nonetheless, let's get into the discussion of power creep in this game. Now, a couple of days ago, Mr. Pokke, he put up a tweet which pretty much said, power creep is only a problem if you're greedy or stupid, pretty much the words without those effects. And it sparked like an ignition within the community, because it made it, the way he's chosen words made it sound like power creep isn't a big deal or power creep doesn't exist. But he did a video, like an hour and a half long video, which I watched all of it, explaining his point of view of why he doesn't think power creep is a problem unless you're greedy or stupid. And I kind of have to agree with his point. Today, we are on my free-to-play account. I have 3 accounts on Honkai Star Rail. I've been keeping up with all 3 of them since you last heard from me. I have my main account, which I spend on. I do the rail card, or is it? We'll go through your options. So your rail card, I allow myself to top up at least one of each of these on my main account throughout the version update. I will not buy more than one of these if I choose to do so, because I think it's a waste of money if you're not getting these bonuses. And I do on my main account the Nameless Honor. And as you can see, this is my free-to-play account. I don't do any of that. I also have my light cones only account. I continue to do that, where I only wish for light cones. So I have an awareness of what it takes to clear the endgame content in this game when you don't have the ability to spend on it, as well as when you do have the ability to spend on it. How far your Stellar Jades will get you if you spend the minimum, which I do. I spend the minimum. Well, I guess the minimum you can go without, I think, going into whaling territory. Whether or not you class doing that as whaling is up to you. I don't think that. Like, I responsibly spend over the course of a year. I calculate whether or not I can afford it. I never spend over my limits and only spend what I'm comfortable with. And, like, I generally these days try not to use the top-up bonuses. Like, unless it will definitely 100% get me the character I want, because I can't be bothered to grind for hours doing like side quests or whatever, or wait days to have the character, you know. But on my free to play, I don't have that option. I don't have the option to spend. I have to make do with what I got. And going back to the point of power creep in Star Rail, yeah, there is some power creep, but it's not power. Like, the way people think about power creep is whether or not you can complete the endgame content. Let's just talk about the endgame content. Forgotten Hall, Pure Fiction, and Apocalyptic Shadow. As you can see on my free-to-play account, I haven't finished Memory of Chaos. I haven't maxed out Pure Fiction. I'm like 1 star away, and I'm 1 off Apocalyptic Shadow. For a free-to-play account, I don't think that's too bad, considering I don't spend a massive amount of time on this account. I don't grind out all the quests. I have, you know, all these to do. I don't go out of my way to get all the free jade available to me. I keep up with the events. I do keep up with the story quest. I haven't done the newest one on this account because I want to wait for the voice acting of Robin to be available before experiencing this again. But when the new patch comes out, I will probably play that just to get Remembrance MC unlocked. I really don't want to because I'd like to have some space between experiencing stuff, but yeah, you kind of got to get the new free unit, don't you? So yeah, I don't spend massive amounts of time on this account. Like, I'll just quickly also show my simulated universe stuff just to show how much of it I've done. Like, barely any. Barely any. Barely any. And I've completed the standard simulated universe. Like, I haven't gone out of my way to get all of the Stellar Jade available to me on this account. But what I have done, and to go back to Mr. Pokke's point, I have tried to wish smartly with my choices of characters. Now let's just have a little look at what characters I don't have on this account. I don't have Kafka. I don't have a Silverwolf. Now Silverwolf was one of the characters I tried to pull for, and she's one of the characters that has been, you could argue, power creep. You could argue Kafka's been power creep, but I don't agree on the grounds that they haven't really supported Dot. And just because Dot is not meta does not mean it has been power crept. It just doesn't have the supports and the tools to keep up with the current meta. But I do not believe Kafka has been power crept. She's just currently not meta. That is a difference between being power crept with your kit and just not being meta. Kafka and Black Swan are just not meta. They don't have a premium support character. Like, you can have Robin, I guess, or Ruin May, two of the best supports in the game to prop up your Dot team, but they're missing a part, which is why they can't keep up in the way of numbers. But until they release a unit that does what Kafka does and has better numbers, Kafka has not been power crept. Now you can argue Silverwolf has been power crept because you are getting units like Firefly, Rapper, Boot Hill, who all have insert weakness. Now the thing is, it's what those three characters, Fugue, who has the insert weakness, not the entirety of the cast. And you also got Fei Zhao. She also ignores toughness on her ult. But it's not the entirety of the cast of characters. If you're a free-to-play character, Silverwolf is arguably still kind of worth it on your account because it means that you can invest in a single DPS and try and force them through every piece of content. Now, on the recent Memory of Chaos, I don't have Silverwolf on my account, but I do have Fugue. I did pull her. And I did second half of Memory of Chaos with Jing Yuan, using Fugue's ability to give like the weakness break to just pretty much push through that, because Lightning Lord has a really significant amount of toughness break, even though it's not like as much as he would get if the bugs were weak to lightning. But it was enough for me to complete MOC with Jing Yuan, who is a version 1 unit. Has Jing Yuan been power crept? Or has he been consistently supported with buffs, with relics and units that help bring out his potential as a unit and keeps him mattering in the current meta? Jing Yuan is a version 1 unit and he can clear the MOC 12 with his best team. Kafka also can clear MOC 12, by the way. I have a friend who has a fully invested Kafka and Black Swan team, like super invested. Like, she has E1 Kafka and S1 Kafka, and she cleared MOC with her 5. Now, the best unit to argue who has been power crept is Soleil, whose numbers don't really match up with other more current units, but arguably they could bring out a unit that enhances Soleil's playstyle again and brings her back into the meta. But Soleil, out of all these units, is the most power crept. I would argue Silverwolf has not been power crept. Her gimmick is less useful the more DPS units you have of each element type, like when I made my video on whether or not Silver Wolf was still worth pulling, my point was she does fall off the older your account gets, because you end up having a DPS of every single element type. If you plan it out and you think smartly, you can get that. And like, then she stops being as useful. If you can only pull a few DPSs, or you're planning on a short time frame, Silver Wolf is still a useful character, arguably, because she allows you to play one team, and you don't have to worry so much about getting the characters with weakness break in their kits, which is not every single DPS available. It's not. I mean, I know most of the new ones have it now, like on Feijao and all that stuff. But like, if you use Acheron on a unit that isn't electric weak, he doesn't feel fantastic. If you use Feijao on a character who isn't wind weak, she doesn't feel fantastic. And even with her weakness implant, Firefly does not feel fantastic against enemies who aren't weak to fire. You can have that implant, but some of those enemies still have a resistance to fire in their stats, which can make Firefly feel awful even with her weakness implant. Like, weakness implant and toughness break is still only as useful as depending on the enemy's weakness at the end of the day. I have Firefly, and I'll be honest with you, she doesn't feel that fantastic in this current MOC. But getting on point, now, Jingliu, people argue she's a character who's been power crept. No. She has fantastic numbers, she has a fantastic kit. If you try her in the current MOC, she feels like garbage, because the current MOC is designed for erudition units, which is why I use Jingyun with Fuge to clear it, because he could kill the pigs fast enough. Jingliu only hits 3 targets, and so does Dang Heng, meaning they both feel absolutely rubbish in MOC 12. That's just simply because the MOC is not designed for them. It's designed for an erudition unit like Rapper and the Herter. It's just not designed for them. Like, you probably, if you have a really well invested Jingliu and Dan Hang, you could probably clear it fine if you like manual it and kill the pigs. Probably. But that depends on how well you love your characters. But people would argue Sparkle has been power crept because Sunday kind of is Bronya but better. That's a good argument, but still, Sparkle's still probably best in slot in any team that needs a lot of skill points, which there's quite a few teams who do. Anyone else here being power crept? Your old units will keep up with the current meta if you invest wisely in your account. I have a free-to-play account. Let's have a look at my poor decision making on it. I pulled for Locha, a character who wasn't meta when I picked him up, and I picked him up for a greedy purpose because I love Locha. I've got Blade, another unit who wasn't particularly meta at the time, but I pulled him so I would have a DPS, because I lost my 50-50 on Silver Wolf. I pulled my guaranteed Rune May. I didn't really have a DPS besides Dr. Ratio. I needed a second DPS, so I picked up Blade. That was my choice. That said, can't remember rerun order. I also picked up Acheron on her first release. I might have pulled Blade afterwards, but my logic for picking up Blade was to have more element types covered, because Dr. Ratio is a single target hunt character. He's not good on if there's many people on the field. He's very good against 2 allied enemies kind of scenario. So Blade was just to cover my bases there. I picked up Robin. I picked up Aventurine. I picked up Firefly. Because she's a great free-to-play unit. And then I got Lingsha and Yao Cho and Fei Xiao and Sunday. And how many limited characters do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think Mr. Pokke worked out that if you lost every single 50-50s and you started your account when the game launched, you'd have a minimum of 8 limited characters available to you. Not including light cones or anything. I didn't start this account when the game launched. I started at the patch before Dr. Ratio was launched, which was Silver Wolf's banner. Or Silver Wolf's rerun. And I have 13 limited characters. A big... And you might notice, a lot of these ran very closely to each other. The amount of Stellar Jade that is available is quite plentiful, and I have won quite a lot of 50-50s on this account, way more than I have on my main account. It's the only real reason I have as many. Like, Locha won 50-50, I think Blade was a 150-50, I think Xiao Cho was a 150-50, Fei Xiao, I think Lingsha was a guaranteed, Fugue was a 150-50, guaranteed, 50-51, I think Acheron was guaranteed. I think Robin, I think, was a 50-50 win. I think Firefly was a 50-50 win. And Sunday was guaranteed because I tried to get Rapper. And I failed to get Rapper. And I decided to use the guarantee on Sunday because that was a smart choice to me. Like, I have picked up pretty much as many good supports as I can. I don't think I've missed any of the fantastic support characters. Like, I tried to get Sparkle, I lost the 50-50. I think that's when I got Acheron on the guarantee. I haven't picked up Hua. She's only run once, I think. In the time I've had this account, I just didn't have enough and I had to prioritize. But, like, there is no real reason why I shouldn't be able to clear the endgame content with this account if I put in enough effort. I don't have, if you have a little looky look, I only have one character light cone, and it's Sundays. I don't have any of the other signature light cones. I have quite a decent amount of light cones. I don't, like, I've only wished on the weapon banner once and got Sundays. Just so he would feel super good on this account with zero issues. Like, I could have used Ronya's light cone, I guess, but then I'd have to take it off Rune May, and who's doing that? But the point I'm making, the point Mr. Pokke makes in his video, and he's trying to make in the tweet, but it's executed poorly, is if you wish smartly, your account scales with the current meta. You can keep up. It depends out on you how much of the end game content you want to clear. Like, if you want it clear across the board, so that extra 60? I can't remember. Let's go have a quick check. I think it's like 60. 80. I'm missing out 80, so it's probably 80 across the board, right? I don't know. But, like, by not completing all of these, I'm missing out on 1 wish and a half, which honestly is not that much. Let's be fair. It's not really a lot of Jade. I've gotten the majority of the available Jade on all 3 game modes. Like, if you can clear this much, even as a free-to-play, I feel like that's more than enough. Like, you're missing out on a wish and a half. And honestly, if I manual this, which I'm too lazy to do most of the time, to manual through each of these to make sure I clear well, I just set it on auto and let it do its thing. I don't think I've replayed this since it was launched, honestly. So I might be able to do this now. I've invested a bit in the characters a bit more. Like, and that's another thing. That's another thing that I think people forget. You've got to build your characters. Like, you need to get them up to level 80. Don't be like me with, like... Oh, I've actually done really well on my free-to-play account. For a while, I had so many characters at level 70. If you've not bothered to get them up to level 80, which enables you to get the last 2 traces, like, especially this one or whatever... some of these, like, last traces are really good. Like, 10% crit damage increase. I really should get this one. Level your traces, guys. Just level your traces. Now, one of the reasons this account doesn't do well in Pure Fiction is I have one erudition unit, and that's a 5-star, and it's Himiko, and I literally just got her this patch. Literally just got her this patch. Which means I suck a little bit in Pure Fiction. I haven't invested in the mode. I have 20 wishes, and I literally just pull Fugue. My likelihood of picking up the Herta is slim. Is very slim, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try get the Herta from this account, so I have Ice covered as my DPS prospects. And let's talk about any like other characters like as a free to play account I'd consider getting. So my next aim is to get the Herta. If I don't get the Herta, would I pick up Aglia? No. I have Acheron. I have Xiaoqiu. I don't need Aglia. I'm pretty sure Acheron can complete whatever endgame content that will be geared to Aglia just fine. I don't need her on this account. She is a luxury 5-star. And if you pick her up, if you've already got an invested electric character, you're greedy. Because it's very likely you can clear the content fine with the ones you have if you've invested in them and if you've invested in the team. By that I mean you've got Jingyuan, you've got yourself your Sunday, you've got Robin, or you've got, I don't know, Topaz and Numbi, or Rune, or whatever. Like, you've invested in him and he clears content now brilliantly because he has every single part he needs to be the best unit he can be. Like, you don't need Aglia. That's an optional. That's a greedy pickup. To use Mr. Pecky's words. Now, Herta, when your 5-star ice option is Jingyue, I mean, I feel like if the content isn't designed for erudition, which the current MOC is, Jingyue probably would be fine in it. I think she probably would be okay to keep up. Now, Jinglue's main issue is she doesn't have the best team she could have. Like, you got Robin, who gives a lot. I guess you can use Sunday now, who also gives quite a lot. And hopefully if you have Wahua, that is also a lot. So I would argue by that point, you've got way too much attack. Possibly on Jinglue, I don't know. The scalings get a bit weird. She's missing something, I think, on teams. She has to like borrow from other people's teams. So it's not really a unit that buffs units that have HP drain in their kit, which is a support unit I feel like we're really lacking. Like Blade, it's not currently meta, but could be in the future if they release a support unit that buffs characters that drain or lose HP of massive amounts. I can only speculate at this point that that is probable in the future. I'm not gonna say anything about leaks or anything, but speculatively, it is plausible that we may finally have a better support unit in the future for Blade, and it's most likely going to be an abundance unit. I honestly like, or they will double down on it being a Locha, because Locha is one of the units who has fallen off in the meta. Like, he doesn't do as much damage as Linkcha or Aventurine, and Huahua is pretty much a Harmony unit. Like, there's not really much reason to pick him up as an abundance unit at the moment, unless you're really into Blade and Jinglue. There's no reason to have him, because he can keep up with Blade's healing needs. But if there were further units that had big HP drain in their kits, Locha probably would also be the best in slot, and thus would no longer be power prepped by Linkcha. Because really, like, they do very similar things, these two. People will sing praises for Linkcha, but Locha does more healing. And Linkshot pretty much has the similar healing mechanic he does, in that he has like an additional like out of turn heal like Locha does. Like they're very similar, except I think her ult heals, but Locha doesn't. Like she has one bit more healing than he does, but he has the field healing. Like they're not actually that dissimilar characters. It's just Linkshot does more damage, and if you're against fire enemies with Firefly, it's very useful. I lost my 50-50 on Linkshot on my main account, and I'm looking forward to a rerun, because like on my main account I'm prioritizing picking up Linkshot before trying to get the Herta. I don't have enough wishes for both or to guarantee anything. And I'm not topping up for it. So fingers crossed. But like, power creep is only an issue if you fail to pick up the parts. Now it's a 50-50 system. You're not always guaranteed to pick up the parts. You're not likely to be as lucky as my free-to-play account and win over half of your 50-50s. You're gonna lose a lot. You're gonna miss your Robins and your Rune Mays and your Fugues. If I had missed Fugue, I would have just got my guaranteed Herta. It wouldn't be a big deal. I didn't feel like I needed Fugue on this account. Like, Firefly doesn't actually need her. But it does mean I can play DPS Linkshot, which is I'm very hyped for. Because even though Linkshot has no weakness implant, I don't think the game wants you to rely on weakness implant or to defeat enemies. They want you to have one DPS of each element, which is why Silver Wolf falls off if you invest in your account. If you only have a limited amount of DPSs, I think Silver Wolf is a fine pickup. I don't think she's been power crept. It's just she has a very niche use, mostly in quantum teams, and the only quantum DPS we have is Sele, who has kind of fallen off a bit. She just she needs something to help her get going again, and it's quite possible, I think, with Aglia's release there'll be an additional support in the future, because Aglia is like a really speedy unit like Sele is. They could release a Harmony unit in the future that provides more speed, kind of like how Asta does, but more, I guess. Like follow up is good, like advanced action is really, really good, but sometimes like Asta's speed granting is also really, really good. It's just she doesn't have much else besides the attack increase in her kit. Like Asta's a really good 4-star. People don't talk about it enough, but she is a really solid 4-star. It's just those better Harmony units. So speed increase is really good. If you had a Harmony unit that did that and a bit more, it would be for longer. It'd be amazing. But yeah, that's kind of what Sele needs. And with Aglia's release, there could be a unit like that they bring out in the future to enhance Aglia's gameplay, and Sele would likely benefit from. So while she's on the down at the moment, I do think it's likely she will get a unit in the future that will enhance her gameplay, and fingers crossed it'll be a quantum one, so you can still play mono quantum. We'll see, that's just speculation. But like, if you're a newer player, like, I don't know how new you'd have to be. I don't think it's worth talking about power creep, because likely if you're a new player, you picked up the new shiny toy. I get the concerns that old units will fall off, but if you look at the amount of new old units who have fallen off, Locha, who arguably still heals plenty fine, it's just, if you care, a lot of people care more about the damage. I would say Locha's ult does do a lot of damage, and it's very useful. You can build him for damage if you want, but Linkshot just does more damage. That she's a more appealing unit. But Linkshot only does more damage if she can break or do super break. If you're not doing that, then she's not actually doing that much damage. Really, if she's not against fire weakness, she's not actually doing much more damage than Locha is. Blade, you could argue, has fallen off. He has Jade now. I've not played him with Jade, but it looks quite comfy from what I've seen of it. And you can kind of make it work, especially if he's hyper invested. I think Silver Wolf is situational. Sele has fallen off, like her numbers aren't as good. But like I said, they managed to make they managed to bring Jingyuan back, and he's a version 1 unit. I only have his signature weapon on my main account, and I cleared MOC with him. So, like, are you telling me Jingyuan hasn't been power crept, but Sele has? He's only, like, they've just given him units to buff him. And that's another thing. Like, these units are what make HOYOverse money. Like, sure, they make more money off of the new shiny units that everybody wants at the time, but when a character's rerun comes up and if people don't have them, they want also people to be tempted to spend for old units, not just the old units that they don't have. Like, they want all of these units to work together so that if someone doesn't have a unit and the new shiny unit that has been launched works well with selective past units, then people will be more tempted to wish for the past units if they don't have them already. Sure, Sele is not meta right now, and her rerun has been delayed quite a noticeably amount. Like, she should have had a rerun by now. It's like, I think, the longest character without a rerun besides Dr. Ratio. And it might be they're delaying Sele's rerun until they have a better picture of how to improve her. So when they release a new unit, people who really like Sele and her gameplay but won't pull her because she's not meta might be tempted to spend money to pull her to go alongside the new shiny unit. Like, it's all very well talking about power creep, but these are all units that they want to sell to you. And they've tried really, really hard to make units synergize with each other. Very few of these units feel bad in their niche. Argenti, the character who people poo-pooed on when he was launched for not being very good. I cleared MOC 11 with him because the MOC is built for Erudition units, and he clears pure fiction like a dream. And when Remembrance MC comes out, he's gotten a buff because they synergize together beautifully. Like, they will continue to release units that make old units relevant as well as new units relevant. They still want to sell you these shiny toys. They want to tempt you to top up your account to get the old units as well as the new units. Sure, Sunday's designed for Remembrance units, but I don't think it's a coincidence that he also does the thing everyone thought Jingyuan should do on release, which is bring up Lightning Lord. Like, if they had launched Jingyuan when he, like, if in his kit that if he had 10 stacks, Lightning Lord was instantly brought up, he would have been a well better unit on launch. Like, he would have lacked harmonies that could have buffed Lightning Lord outside of Jingyuan's turn, but he would have been a way better unit on launch. And Sunday fixes his main issue, which was the Lightning Lord thing, and I don't think that's a coincidence. They made it so Sunday didn't just pull up summon memo sprites, they made it so that he also pulled up summons to bring relevance to old characters, and now they can also launch future characters that have summons and not memo sprites that Sunday will also benefit. Yay! And it also means if you pulled Sunday and you don't have Jingyuan, but you really like Jingyuan, like when his banner next comes around, that it's just been, but when it next comes around and you have Sunday, you're like, well, Jingyuan's still meta, he still does lots of stuff, I think I'm gonna pull him because I have Sunday. Like, the discussion of power creep is stupid. It's all dependent on the current meta. And they only released 2 new units a patch. And I think the way they design the kits is they'll design the DPSs. They'll think what the DPSs need to increase their damage. They'll look at the current roster and be like, there isn't really that available for that unit. And then they'll start designing a support that does that. Like, Acheron lacked a unit that provided enough debuffs for her. So, like, Zhao Cho is the perfect unit for her. Maybe I didn't pick him up because he's a man. He was kind of silly, especially if you love Acheron, because like he's amazing. Power creep is a thing, but I don't think it's actually as much of an issue as people fear it will. I genuinely think because they do want to make money on all these units, they will make adjustments and new stuff that will enhance these units eventually, as well as enhancing the new units. But I'm pretty sure we will have a future unit that buffs speed in a way that benefits LA, because it also benefits Aglia, and she's a speed character. Like, if there are characters that niches overlap with each other, the more likely they will to create a unit that buffs them. Robin being a intended follow-up buffing character that's just good for everyone. Like, they want to create characters in these niches, or it's a team building game, and they want you to wish for the previous characters as well. They don't just want you to wish for the current ones. They want you to get all of the puzzle pieces, which is why we also have these 4 banners a cycle now, which hopefully they continue with, even if it's not 4 and they go down to 3. I feel like they should, because it matters for some of these teams to work. It matters what previous units they have, and sure, they could hold off releasing a unit's rerun to increase the likelihood people will spend. Like, I'm betting Zhao Cho will not be on the next lot of rerun banners. I bet he will be on, like, not Kevin's, like, cycle, just to force people to spend for him. Because they didn't pick him up, which I know is a bit slimy. Slimy business practices, considering how well Zhao Cho is for Acheron. Or they might rerun in next patch, because like, if you didn't pick him up, I feel like people will try to, and yeah, I think like next patch is possibly an optional skip patch as well, because it's another DPS imaginary man. We got quite a few of those. Why are all the men imaginary? And Tribby, the quantum harmony, which we don't know what she does yet. But yeah, power creep is only a problem if you let it be. I know, like, the 50-50s are an issue, but like, if you lose a 50-50 and they are increasing the frequency of characters coming around, you can just save for the next character that will change your account. Like, if you miss out on Robin on her rerun, and you lose the 50-50 and you don't have enough, you can save. And if you don't have Zhao Cho but you do have Acheron, you can save those and pull him, and then start saving again for Robin, or the next character that would benefit your account. Like, just because you lost Robin, that doesn't mean you need to save again for Robin. You just save again for the next character that would benefit your account. When do you wish for DPSs? Like, I think it's worth having a DPS of every element. On this account, I've got 2 wins, because I'm an idiot. Fei Zhao is a greedy pull. Fei Zhao is my greedy pull. She's a beautiful fox lady, and I needed her on both accounts. So yeah, I've got wind, I've got lightning covered. Acheron cover most content, as long as it has the same weakness as one of her best supports. I have Firefly. That's it, really, isn't it? Wind, lightning, and fire are my 3 chosen DPSs. I'm missing ice and physical, aren't I? Yeah, and quantum. Yeah, I need to pick up, but like, for the most part, I've managed to do all the endgame content. Like, Fei Zhao's a hunt character, so she can't clear everything. Because if you had a super fast phase out, maybe, and all her supports. Weakness break is so important. People think weaker toughness shred, and weakness implant can do everything for you. It cannot. It cannot. So I'm getting off track again. But yeah, I do agree with Mr. Pokke's point. Power creep is I would argue power creep is not as severe as people think it is. Yes, the enemies in MOC numbers are getting higher, but that's only in support of the additional support units we have to increase the DPS's numbers. Like, if Robin, Jay Chou, Rune Mei didn't exist, and Sparkle that massively amplify our damage, they wouldn't need to increase the enemy's hit points. That's why they've done it. It's because your potential for damage is so much higher now than it was 5 patches ago. And if they didn't increase the health of the enemies, you all would be complaining it's too easy. Like, they can't win. Like, maybe the HP inflation has gone too far? Maybe? But I don't know, is it a bad thing to try and make your endgame challenging in a strategy game that, like, most people play on autoplay anyway? I don't know. I always say, if you can clear the endgame content, you don't need to wish. And I have managed to clear the endgame content on my main account for like over a year now, like all of it. During Firefly's patch, I used Hook the Great to clear all of Firefly's content for all of you people who think 4 stars can't do endgame content. They can. Yeah, like, invest in your 4 stars if you're struggling. Like, I clear all quantum-based content with UA. I didn't do it with this current MOC because there was no. Oh, maybe because Yui's kit doesn't hit many targets. Like, I wasn't confident Yui could take down the big bug fast enough, and as well as destroy the pigs quick enough. That's the only reason I didn't use Yui on floor 12 this time. But usually Yui clears all of my quantum content. She's our 4-star. I use Super Breaks Yui. I'm very excited to use her with Yug to make her even better. But like, power creep's what you make of it. Like, if you like, and you gotta remember, like, some of the 4 stars kits do synergize really well with certain MOCs or endgame content. Like, I've used Serval on the Apocalyptic Shadow, I think, last time, because her kit synergized incredibly well with the current buff, and she could clear it, and Jinyuan couldn't, and Acheron couldn't. But because her 4-star kit was just geared, because I think it was a rapper Apocalyptic Shadow, she just smashed it. Like, talking about like power creep, and like, in certain scenarios the 4 stars can do the content. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of 4 stars that have a broad range of kits to rely on when, like, your 5 stars let you down. Like, there are some scenarios that the 4 stars are better in. I remember when Venturine was in MOC, and I used Beijao with Herta because Herta could hit all of his dice for the mechanic that was up for that one. Like, invest in your units, invest in your account smartly, and if you're struggling, expand your knowledge on what units do what and how they work with all of the endgame content, and you'll have a much easier time clearing it, honestly. And yeah, sure, the numbers are bigger now, but like, if you've wished smartly, or if you're good with the mechanics of the strategy-based game, you can do it. And also make sure to please, I beg you, please build your characters correctly. I can build my characters better. Like, I like my free-to-play Yakon. She could be faster, but she's alright. I rebuilt Aventurine recently because I felt he was too slow. And he had no crit rate, and he's a little bit better now, so good. I could probably rebuild my Pella. I think, like, yep. But, like, if you're struggling with endgame content, look at your builds. Assess where you can improve them and go farming, like up your traces, whatever. That can make a huge difference in endgame content. I feel like power creep is an illusion. It does exist for some characters, like Soleil. It does exist. But I don't think it's as a big of a problem as a lot of people say it is. And sure, you might lose your 50-50 and not get the key characters that can make your account stronger. That's fine. But when that happens, see what parts of the puzzle you're missing and just save for the next one. You will eventually get your Robin. You will eventually get your Rune A. And until you do, there are other characters that can kind of fill in their niche. If you don't have Robin, you can just use Asta on Dance Dancer or something. It's very similar. Just like, you know, give her a... like, my Asta's not built. This is a terrible example. Give her an energy regen rope. Put her on Dance Dance. And it's kind of like Robin, you know? It'll bring your characters up and make them super speedy. Yeah, like, play smartly is what I say. Play smartly. The illusion of power creep will reduce. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It does. But I do think people overstate how much it is. Like, the HP inflation is a thing, but Xiaoqiu, Robin, Rune Mei are also a thing. Like, what do you want? Do you want the MOC to be super easy and feel like a joke? Or do you actually want it to be challenging endgame content? Because you cannot have it both ways. And yeah, maybe it's predatory, but it might just be they looked at the numbers that people were outpouring in MOC and deduced that the S1 or E0 no signature light cone characters were doing enough damage across the board that they could increase the numbers. That's all. And it's mostly the MOC gimmick that inspires you to wish. But if you can overcome the MOC gimmick, like I did it this time with Jingyuan, because he's an erudition character, and he has decent toughness break when he can break toughness in Lightning Lord, then you don't need the latest unit, as powerful as they are. Wish smarter, be less greedy. You're allowed to be a little greedy. You're allowed your Fei Zhao. I mean, look at those eyes. She's beautiful. You're allowed to be a little bit greedy sometimes. Sometimes it's worth it. Alright. That's all I have to say on this matter. I feel like I've been talking for an hour now, which is way too long to be talking about this. I laughed at Mr. Pokke for talking about an hour and a half, but here we are. Enough said. Have a great time. Subscribe if you want me to do more content, because I've been very uninspired to do anything lately. And I'll see you when I can next be bothered to make a video. Goodbye!